Welcome to another edition of Outside the Overton. I'm Joshua Vandernoord with Zeb Boykin, and today we're going to be discussing the recent controversy on Valentine's Day. Ashley St Clair announced that her child was fathered by Elon Musk. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. And despite all this, DOGE is still going strong and they're tackling Social Security head on. Zeb and I are going to be discussing this today in detail, all here on Outside the Overton.
Dude, you have such a radio voice. Maybe you should work in radio.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing here. Let's go main cam. We all over the place today. Josh, I got to fix something real quick.
Okay.
I don't know how
the hotkeys have been betraying us a little bit recently. But yeah, so it's been after we went live on Friday on the PENDVLUM podcast with Rodney Berry, Ashley St Clair basically went on Twitter and announced that her child was fathered by Elon Musk. And Zeb is a little bit more up to date on these sort of, these like right-wing influencer types. We're going to be talking about that, though, and the uproar and controversy. The split, of course, the right wing, as always, is split right down the middle on these types of issues. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So kind of fill me in a little bit on what you know about Ashley St Clair. I'm vaguely familiar with her.
All right, I think we're good.
Okay. So
I'm in Rodney's spot too, so my mic's a little off. I'm over here trying to adjust. It was kind of on the fly live today. So if you can comments, leave any questions if you have. Maybe we can address them, or if you have any takes that we don't mention. On Ashley St Clair, she has been around for a while. I'm not, extremely caught up on her, but I am caught up on this Elon Musk situation, and I don't care about Ashley and baby mama drama as much as I care about the effect it's going to have on Elon and potentially DOGE moving forward. She came out Valentine's Day. Maybe she was sitting around, didn't have baby daddy with her or whatever.
Right.
Came out, announced to Twitter world that, she's had a baby 5 months ago and it's Elon's. And so everybody was like, and this split we talk about, half of them were out there, congratulations. The other half were saying, you shouldn't be, one, sleeping around, two, having kids out of wedlock. But the other side of this was, she shouldn't have had an abortion, and we're going to congratulate her on having an abortion, and we're going to congratulate her on her essentially single motherhood,
right?
Which is what we kind of fight against. Is that not, Josh?
Yeah, exactly. But I did want to ask you this though, because you're more plugged into Twitter. I'm working on kind of getting myself in, plugged in myself. But I had heard she had a baby. You and I have been talking behind the scenes a little bit about how there's speculation JD Vance might have a burner, like a based burner account. Did you hear any speculation about this beforehand about who the father was?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. She's been absent from the Twitter space for a while, like noticeably. Like, I mean, she's pretty active on there with a very flamboyant.
We'll say it.
Spicy takes, which is fine. But like I said, she's been noticeably absent. Then you have people like Milo that have come out and said, I called this a year ago or stuff like that. I'll try to pull up some screenshots here in a second. But no, nobody's heard that. But now that she's come out, there's a lot of speculation going on that maybe Elon has more than 13 kids. Maybe he's pushing 500. Who knows? There's a lot. I mean, I think six or seven of his 13 kids have been confirmed IVF.
Really?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So if we're IVFing kids and you're the richest man in the world and you don't care about paying child support, and your entire essence is a push for pronatalism with no moral backing of IVF bad, or no moral backing of maybe we should actually have a structured family, what's to stop you from being Genghis Khan?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, you see that it's rampant on the right wing. The fact of the matter is being rich, being powerful, it provides you with more temptations. So even based right-wing people that purport to be like pro-natalism, pro-nuclear family, they're subject to the same desires we are. And I'm not saying I don't get it, but it is hypocritical. And I would say I'm interested to see how this progresses. Like, how will Elon Musk handle it? Right now, last I checked, he's been kind of quiet about it. He hasn't really directly addressed this.
No, I mean, I don't think he has addressed it at all. It's just kind of going with the flow. I don't know. Maybe he's working on a payoff. I don't know if he can outbid Mossad, but I think he's going to try. But I mean, that's another thing that is kind of floated around is Ashley a blackmail-esque, Jeffrey Epstein style, get Elon Musk to do what we want him to do type setup. I don't know how much validity that is, but Mossad has paid her agent, what was the number? It was like some stupid amount of millions of dollars. Almost $600,000 from an Israeli security firm, to her agent, which, I mean, she's, whether it was rhetorical or not, has admitted to taking Mossad money on Twitter before. So, it's a little bit of speculation going on. We still have to wait to see what happens. And again, this is a lot of baby mama drama, but more so it's along the lines of they're trying to twist Elon's arm. Are they? I don't know. And moving forward, is this DOGE diving into things like Social Security, which we'll get to here in a minute, USAID. They just announced they're going to look into the SEC. They're going to look into the Federal Reserve. If they're getting access to all of these access to the back end of all these organizations, what are they going to come up with? And all the people that are collecting money from this, what are they willing to do to protect that amount of money that they're getting?
Yeah, that's it's a good tie-in, because honestly, I think with the Ashley St Clair thing, I was kind of curious to what extent, like, how organic is this? Is this, like you were saying, is she like a Epstein-esque, blackmail seductress like that? You see that all the time in politics, and it is kind of interesting, the timing of it, and is it a play? I think it's too soon to know right now, but I'm open-minded to that possibility. You know what I mean? I think the Social Security stuff, it's very interesting. And it's an insane, like, we're about to pull up the numbers, but it's an insane amount of money that is just going into the void, that there's no accountability.
See if I can pull this up real quick. This is a tweet from 5 years ago of her replying to Greg Price, kind of irrelevant. It says, "I need to get Elon Musk attention for a marriage proposal. Please, Greg." And so Greg responds. He says, he's got a kid with a woman already. Seems unlikely to work out. She responds again, well, he actually has 7 kids and goes through women pretty fast, which is not inaccurate. That's an accurate statement. But kind of hindsight here, 2020, we see she's got a 5-month-old with Elon Musk, whether organic or through IVF. I mean, this is, on the books 5 years ago. She's looking for a retirement plan. Is that what this is, Josh? Is this just a financial stability retirement plan that we're looking at?
Well, I definitely think, a young woman who's been hired by Mossad to spy on the right and sleep around and get blackmail on people, I definitely think getting child support from the richest man in the world is, that could definitely be enough to foil her alliance or allegiance to Mossad, for example. But I wouldn't be surprised at all, though, if this is basically like not a play. Like, she probably slept with Elon Musk to, like probably naturally. I'm sure he was sliding in the DMs, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, bitches catch feelings. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's pretty known that these, I guess you could call them e-thoughts, sleep around with everybody. That's just the way the political realm works, and that's a Madison Cawthorn type take from D.C., but it applies to all politics, whether that's commentary or holding office. I mean, that's really the nature of the being right now. I'm going to pull up this other screenshot. Wow, that's massive. How do I make it smaller? Of Ashley. Oh, Lord. We're struggling. Mm-hmm. That she posted. Why can't I make it smaller? It's really aggravating me right now. There we go. Okay. Now you can see our pretty little faces. This is something she posted and almost immediate deleted. It says, FYI, a security team on Elon's own platform logged the account. He is now responded to for a week for proposing a non-consensual underwear photo of me as a child. Now, this is in response to Milo posting photos of her that she posted from another account called Sex Laptop when she was doing cam work. This is just all common occurrence that you see across the Conservative Inc. platform. This is what these people do. They go from the theater to cam work to the commentary world or politics. It's a theater occupied government. We'll quote John Dole on that again. But what's really sticks out is this is a inbox tweet or inbox DM from the head of safety. And it says, we're going to kind of break this down a little bit. I don't know if Josh has seen this yet, but it says, thanks for the call, Chris. We're bouncing the post for non-consensual nudity. Given that this is paired with a threat to expose as well, we're increasing the timeout period to 1 week. This will also help us get to the right of the news cycle on Ashley. Git is also using the media matching tool to surface additional instances. What does this mean is really the question on this. And we can kind of dive into the baby mama drama, whatever, later. But right now, this is specifically a request by an individual that doesn't like pictures that are posted that were taken from their original post and reposted for a request for Twitter to essentially suspend somebody specifically for not breaking TOS. That's what we're looking at right here. This is what Elon is allowing on Twitter to happen. And we've seen it on the surface level of other things from like top Groyper accounts that are associated with Nick Fuentes. But now we get to see the back end work of, hey, I don't like this thing that this person posted, suspend them. How do we get through that, Josh? Like, is that, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do I get enough power to DM Elon to just ban somebody I don't like?
You got to have pretty face and
well, you don't even have to have that part.
I know, but it's crazy because like this was a debate I was having with a coworker of mine, where basically the idea that Elon Musk is a free speech absolutist. Did Elon Musk buy Twitter because Jack Dorsey was censoring people and he wants everyone to have the ability to say whatever they want whenever they want within the bounds of the law? I never bought that. I mean, Elon Musk has like when you compare Elon Musk to Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk has government contracts. He has multiple businesses, innovative businesses. He has connections to people in, the military, in intelligence agencies. He's all over the place. He is a very quote unquote interested guy. And for him to buy Twitter, I always thought this was him wanting to have more control over the narrative. Twitter is like the main hub for news these days. It's the main hub for communication these days, getting your ideas out. And Jack Dorsey had a obviously liberal bent. Elon Musk swoops in under the guise of a more moderate conservative type. And I always thought, like, when push came to shove, Elon Musk is absolutely going to censor people that are talking out, against his interest. It didn't even take long for that to happen. I mean, granted, he bought Twitter a few years ago, but like after like Donald Trump got in office, there was the whole controversy in late December, early January over the H-1B things that resulted in many, as you pointed out, as many Groypers, associates of Nick Fuentes getting banned. And other people as well, in this perfect case, banning, I think you said it was Milo, banning Milo over posting her pre-posted nudes.
Yeah, suspension. It's crazy. I want to just point out the hypocrisy here. This is a tweet from her a little while ago, back in, July of last year.
This July. Or last July.
It says, there's no sin as cruel as alienating a child from a parent, seeing so much of this everywhere. And Elon Musk responds, he says, yeah, like you don't have 12 kids that he sees. One he takes on photo ops, but the other 11, it's impossible for him to do what he does. And then she replies, it must stop. What is the irony in this tweet, Josh? I don't even know. Like, how do you even process this?
I mean, it's obvious. These people, like, it's a sad truth. And this is what you hear. Where, like, we talk about politicians, like, nobody's squeaky clean. We understand this. But it's like, there has been in recent years, especially, since like the early 2010s and in 2015, where you see this rampant increase in hyper liberalism, like delusional stuff, where people like Bill Maher are considered moderate. That, like, there's this converse reaction to it, which you and I, we're Christians, we're Christian nationalists. We believe in in having a pious society and having a truly moral framework for reality and for the nation. And you have these people that are basically capitalizing on it. They're saying they're Christian, but it's like popular Christianity. It's like mainstream. You see, and there's types like, I'll use John Zerka for example. It's not my place to question someone's authenticity, but when he talks about Christianity, he talks about Christianity like, oh, I picked Christianity as a religion, as my like faith, because it makes more sense to me. Or because like that aligns with my values already. It's like your faith as a Christian, Christianity should inform your values. You don't pick a religion based on what you already believe. You may as well just be an atheist. It's totally arbitrary where that comes from. So you see this like people that are making names for themselves as like Christians and conservatives are like conservative in name only, and not nearly at all in practice.
Well, that's the case with a lot of these red pill guys. Andrew Tate is a Muslim. His brother Tristan is a Christian. They and Zerka, you name one. I don't know about Myron. I don't know about some of these other guys, but a lot of this red pill movement is a idea, or at least a grasp, to get back to traditionalism. They have this quarrel. They have this issue with society and how it's being brought about, and rightly so. They understand the problems that are, and then they look for solutions. I think they have the incorrect solutions because they simply attach the problems they have and how they want to fix them, and then they grab whatever they wish, which is a religion of Christianity, Islam, or however it be. And I agree with you. The religion itself should inform the thought process of the individual, not the other way around.
Exactly.
Before we move on to the DOGE completely, I just want to I want to show this one here also, of Elon Musk essentially using Twitter's creator earnings as child support. That's what this is. Is it not, Josh? Are we not looking at an increase of what, $6,000, $6,500 almost a month in Twitter earnings? the same month she supposedly had that baby.
So she had the baby in October. Wow.
5 months from today would be October. So she had the baby in October, and she gets a $6,500.
Yeah, I didn't know about
stipend. So Twitter is Elon's little slush fund. It seems like his little play toy where he can just ban whoever he wants from the town hall, and also pay out of pocket, essentially tax free because you don't have to pay tax on child support, which is kind of irrelevant if he's nearly a trillionaire at this point. I mean, well, arguably half, but
yeah, the
numbers
whole,
don't even make sense anymore.
The whole like Twitter dynamic is very weird. I don't understand it. Like it feels like everything is arbitrary because it totally makes sense why even under Elon Musk, someone like Nick Fuentes would still be banned. I mean, I don't agree with it, but like I would understand why Elon Musk has no interest in letting him on. Yet Gavin McInnes is still banned. Now, it could be because I know there was a huge outcry to let Nick Fuentes back on. Gavin McInnes did not have the same support behind him, and I don't think he cares as much. But it's very like it's very like arbitrary. You know what I mean? It's like on a
Gavin
whim.
McInnes was banned on Twitter still.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't seen him.
Indefinitely suspended. Well, he was initially suspended, I think, in the Jack Dorsey days, and he just hasn't been let back on.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, I think he's got his own thing going on. I don't think it bothers.
But
yeah,
much.
I mean,
the point stands.
But the points, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess staying on the Elon topic, man, we'll have to see how this plays out, how Baby Mama John plays out, how many kids he eventually ends up with, and how that is going to affect DOGE. I do think DOGE is on a roll or at a point where it doesn't need Elon anymore. They just opened up like I think 20-something new DOGE accounts on Twitter to keep updated on news, and some of those include the SEC, the Fed, the Social Security, which we're about to talk about. I mean, there's essentially one for every organization, FBI, CIA. So do they have full access to everything at this point almost? And if they do, what's the point of Elon even sticking around anymore other than being a spokesperson with a photo op with his kid?
It seems like it. I mean, they've got these uber geniuses. They've got, a big name going around was Luke Ferritoy for a little while. And also Big Balls, who, like last I heard, he was let back on, right?
Well, J.D. Vance called and was asked about should they bring Big Balls back on. He was like, yeah. Trump said, let's do it. Bring him back. So I don't know. Hey, man, if Big Balls keeps finding ways, fraud, and abuse, hey, let him go. I don't care what his name is.
And that's the thing is like we kind of just like from a Christian nationalist, from a Christian perspective, Elon Musk is not a moral man. Elon Musk, he's not even Christian. He doesn't even pretend to be, which I mean I do appreciate. I'd rather him like not identify as Christian and then behave unchristianly. I think he has
claimed cultural Christianity. I mean, just as Richard Dawkins has. I mean, all they mean is they are culturally Western. I mean, that's what the Western culture is.
Yeah. They say it's almost the same thing as John Zerka, where Richard Dawkins will say, well, I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in the morals of Christianity for the most part. But he picks and chooses, that's like how a lot of these guys are. And I think you and I disagree about Jordan Peterson. I think he kind of falls into that category.
I need to find that clip for you.
Yeah, please do. Because I'm not gonna bash the guy if it's genuine, but at the same time, for reference, what we're talking about is Jordan Peterson for years would not admit that the resurrection happened.
He got so close so many times.
He was basically saying that the gospel is true because, he believes in these like archetypes.
It's metaphysically true.
Yes, where it's like characters, Jungian archetypes are like part of reality, and so the story is just as real. He basically believes the gospel is a moral lesson.
Yeah, I guess to your point is we're just saying that we're willing to make concessions on people leading the country as long as it's going in the direction that we wish it to go. And is Correct. That? I mean I feel like that's an okay concession to make. Yeah. Elon isn't going to stick around forever. Eventually, it's going to get so far towards nationalism as at a grassroots level that he is just kind of done. And hopefully eventually they'll be done with DOGE. That was the entire purpose of the organization to start with, was to create it, fix the things, and get rid of the organization so it doesn't have to operate anymore.
Right.
But on that, I'm going to give this over to John Ward. He has put out a short today that kind of cover a little bit, and then we'll catch the Social Security topic on the back end.
Elon Musk has brought attention to discrepancies in the Social Security Administration's database. Discrepancies that include more than 10 million people over the age of 120 and more than 1 million over 150, with the oldest Social Security recipient coming in at 360 years old, or roughly the age of the Mayflower. Likewise, the total number of recipients is just under 400 million, or about 60 million more American Social Security recipients than there are Americans. Who are these vampires? Or where did the money actually go? Leave your theories in the comments, unless you're one of these Nosferatus, in which case just don't bite me.
Hold on.
We
All
got-
right, there we go.
Oh, I really like the analogy to it's like the age of the Mayflower. That really put it in perspective like there's at least one person.
I mean, the country is only 50 years old,
Right.
249 years old right now, which is insane to think about how young the country is. And then you have Social Security checks being printed out for people older than the country is. I can go out on a limb and say maybe there's a typo there, maybe. But given the other numbers,
Yeah.
it's probably not.
One person in the age of 360 to 369 years old, clerical error, fine and dandy. 6,000 people that are in the 170 to 179 age bracket, that goes a little bit deeper.
Josh,
Good look. Half of this chart is people over over 100.
I think I know some of them. Actually, this one right here we have in studio today. Where is he? There he is.
Hey, Mitch.
Oh, dude, where's your Social Security check at? You been cashing that thing, dude? Oh man, got my Thuzlo over here cashing Social Security checks.
You're throwing our financier under the bus. How do you think we were able to pay for this studio? We're cashing in Mitch's Social Security checks.
Oh Lord, maybe that's who it is on Social Security. Mitch is so old; he's just filed under 350 years old.
Could be. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting. Even I, like, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where Elon Musk posted pictures about like all the Social Security records are kept on paper in like a limestone mine.
Yeah,
that looks like is out of the 50s because it was built in the 1950s. And it's crazy. Like, that there is not only, obviously this is indicative of negligence, but it's fraud because the amount of people that are over like 120 years old getting checked, people are fudging the numbers.
Really, you could just start at 100. But even beyond that, the amount of people on Social Security is more than we have people in the country.
Right. It's not even like,
that's an insane number, dude.
Yeah, it's not even like Uncle Bobby died and they didn't announce, like they just buried him in the back and they're keeping the checks coming in.
Yes.
They are manufacturing people to send money to send Social Security checks
like
to.
How many people do you think, like as a percentage, are over, was it 65 you start receiving Social Security? How many people as a percentage are over 65? We have 330 million people in the country. You have a 65. Look, even if we just gave them, even if we said literally half the people in the United States are over the age of 65 and receiving Social Security, you still have another 150 million people receiving Social Security every month. That's insane.
It's nuts. And I wanted to ask this. I didn't look this up before we pulled up that chart. Is this only Social Security or is this also Medicare and Medicaid? Because, forget, like, obviously the numbers that grab your attention immediately are all the people in like 100 plus years old getting Social Security checks. But like, you just go back up to the top. How many like the thing's kind of grayed out, but it's like what 40 something million.
Yeah,
people
this is pulled directly
age 9?
This is pulled directly from Social Security Administration.
Okay,
That's insane.
There
dude.
are 48 million 9-year-olds, or 48 million. What is it? Yeah, 48 million 9-year-olds getting Social Security checks. I didn't know there was that many people with Benjamin Button's disease, but maybe clearly
maybe it's just pulling. Maybe it's just pulling directly. Oh, let's see.
Because I'm confused. Shouldn't the number begin at age 65?
You would think so. Maybe we got a different look at this.
I mean,
I don't know.
I was saying,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're reading this wrong.
age range 0 to 9.
I
It
don't
goes by
think so,
decade.
man.
Why? Because I'm wondering, is that like obviously the people over the age of 100, there are millions of people over the age of 100 getting Social Security checks. Why are people from age 1 to 9? And what is it says like 38, almost 39 million people from 0 to 9.
I think that's
getting
people
Social Security
receiving
checks.
Social Security is what it looks like.
I'm wondering, yeah,
It's almost like people are filing for Social Security of people that already exist, and they're just sending it somewhere else.
Oh, I see.
But even regardless, the point stands. There's more people on this sheet than Americans in America. I mean, either way, they're manufacturing numbers and obviously ages. I mean, dude, what's that? 16,000 people over the age of like 110.
I love kind of at the bottom, you see like obviously people from 190 to 199, it's like 400 people. Then for some reason from 220 to 230, it jumps up to 1,000 people. Wonder what was going on 200 years ago that caused that many people to stick around.
Put them even at what, 1,800?
Yeah, I know.
Is 1,800 just a default? Hey, they were born on January 1st, 1,800.
I guess
that would make them 225 years old.
Everyone born after like the Revolutionary War, you know, the patriotism is keeping them going.
Is that what keeps you going?
Yeah,
Mitch. Still going?
The American flag behind him is keeping those bones energetic. But it is kind of funny because you and I are very critical, like talking about Ashley St Clair and Elon Musk. We're very critical of people on the right because I do think, like as you've said before, there is a split on the right, and it will only continue to divide, where people on both sides, there will eventually be a party split in the right. But what's interesting, it is kind of a breath of fresh air to go back to a time when it seemed like the worst people in the world were the liberals, like the true enemy were the liberals, because the liberal outcry about this has been just nuts. Like, I'm willing to be critical of Elon Musk. I'm willing to say he's not a flower child. He's not a miracle worker. He's fudging some things. He's being dishonest about this. He's got all these baby mamas, this, that, and the third. But what's interesting is that like the left, they're not even being like, there was a time where they could just straight up lie and everyone would believe them. But so many people haven't caught on. Elon Musk with that graph, even if he is fudging the numbers, there's no way he could think he'd get away with that much. There's clearly fraud going on, and he's trying to expose that. And the left is doing their best to characterize this as he's taking away your Social Security number.
I'll give you, it didn't just start when Elon was going after Social Security numbers right here. I had my grandma call me maybe a week ago now, and she called me and asked me, is Trump going to take her Social Security away? And I said, no. Even if he did take the Social Security away, he can't simply just take it away from people that are literally living on it right now.
Yeah.
It would be a process. But that narrative had already gotten out there even before DOGE had gotten into the Social Security accounts or the Social Security numbers, where they could look at how much fraud was actually going on. So this is being built up over time, over the week or so, because they know it's coming. This is something that they can actually fight, where they can't fight USAID money because we know it's going to condoms in Pakistan or something stupid. Palestine, is that where their condoms were going?
Yeah, sending the condoms to the
$50 million or
Palestinians.
something retarded to Palestine for condoms. But you want me to go ahead and play the hearing?
Let's do it.
Mr. Talcove, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government. Ms. Royal, do you know how much the average person in this country who survives on Social Security, one of our seniors who's worked their entire life, about how much they have to survive on a day?
I do not.
$65 a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans, is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day. Let me be clear. I think we would all support taxpayer savings, look into money we might needlessly send to billionaires and big corporations, find taxpayer savings, and send it back to your hardworking family. But instead, what House Republicans and the Trump-Musk administration want to do is they want to look into your kids' lunch money, your kids' teacher's salary, into your grandparents' Social Security. They want to take that money and give it out in billionaire tax cuts, and they're talking about that in committee tomorrow. In Budget Committee tomorrow, they just released their plan. So let me be clear. When Republicans talk about government efficiency in this Congress, they're not looking into billionaires who don't pay their taxes. They're not looking into billionaires who get rich off of government contracts. They're not looking into Elon Musk firing watchdogs who are supposed to keep him accountable. They're looking at cutting your public schools. They're going straight for your Social Security. They're coming straight for cancer research. They're coming straight for the Department of Education. They're not looking at big tech. They're not looking at big pharma because those people fund their campaigns.
Okay, so I thought about, you saw at the very end there, it was like Greg Kassar, or however you say his last name. I thought about clipping that out just to have the clip I pulled from Twitter, but I thought to leave it on because I know it's a little bit besides the point, but I love seeing the clip farming. Like, oh my gosh, dude. I don't know how people can handle it on Capitol Hill or, you know, in their state Congress, wherever they are. But like people to that degree, like lecturing to each other over this. And obviously lie. He said they're going after cancer research. Where's he even getting that from? He's just saying, like, he literally, it's hard to like parody. It's hard to caricature because he said they're going after your kids' lunch money. Like he said that as if like that's something we would say to see, look how ridiculous the stuff he's saying is.
Which I think it is tied to some of it. But what they do is they take this very, 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 very minute piece and blow it up as big as they can and try to use that as a weapon. But the thing is, well, maybe we are going after the little lunch money. Is their lunch money due to fraud? Are they frauding the federal government? Are these people lying about how much money they make? Are they lying about whatever income to get food stamps? I don't know. I mean, maybe we are going after the lunch money. If they're lying about it, then they shouldn't be getting it.
We're definitely going after somebody's nest egg,
Somebody's
bread
lunch
basket,
money.
whatever you want to call it. Somebody's getting very upset here. But it's like you said, it's not even like, I feel like some people, I feel like the smarter Democrats, like I'd probably say Gavin Newsom, you know, he's been awfully quiet, you know, he's still anti-Trump, but he's coming to the table on certain things. And I think because he's not like this hardcore, like pro-tranny liberal to the core, he's a Gavin Newsom firster. So the narrative, like basically what DOGE has done is exposed an insane amount of fraud going on, and they know they can't defend it. They know that saying, oh, they're coming after your Social Security, oh, they're coming after, grandma's check, they're saying all those, like, they know that the people don't buy that. You know, Maxine Waters, no one cares about Maxine Waters. The DNC doesn't care about Maxine Waters. They'll let her go out and say whatever nonsense she wants to tout. But the people with actual, like, I don't know if clout's the right word, but the people with actual, like, political promise on the Democrat side, AOC became famous for being the speaks her mind type. She's not talking about this. She may have said a thing or two, but she's not like coming out full force like we're used to seeing from her. And I think that's because the DNC sees potential in her, and they're like, hey, you can't come out against this. It's not a good look. So I think, like, I'm really enjoying seeing the dumb Democrats that aren't really in the inner circle. You know what I mean? Like they're not at the Mercury level orbit, kind of crashing out over this.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this crash out is them trying to protect their funds. I mean, they're getting paid off of this. There's no doubt about that. I think Crowder did a dive back not too long ago on the 2020 election, trying to uncover where did the funding come from to support all of the fraud in the election. And a lot of it was through government funds. And so, I mean, it's not going to be anytime soon, but I think eventually we will be able to track a lot of this money back into the pockets of these people, and then back into the election that was stolen or rigged.
Right.
It's all connected, and I think the system's crumbling down. We like to talk about this split, and it's coming. And I kind of want to bring up this point. It's kind of a little bit off topic from Social Security, but I don't know how much more we can hit on the Social Security thing. It's like, yeah, there's fraud there. Yeah, it's insane.
Right.
I mean, what else is there? I mean, stop paying people that don't exist. Clean the system up.
Right. Go ahead.
But to the point that I want to make is, there's a split, and the Democrat Party, I think, is going to implode. I don't think it can exist much longer. And you mentioned it before. The Republican Party is going to split. I think the infrastructure that exists in the election world or the political world is going to have to be hijacked by one of the other parties, or one of the two sides of the Republican Party that is going to come. Does that make sense at all? So like there's a reason we only have two parties in America. Really only have two parties in America. No party will be able to create or compete at a level of election without the backing of the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. Doesn't matter if you're libertarian, green, whatever, you name it, doesn't exist. The money's not there, one. The infrastructure's not there, two. So you have to have that infrastructure to elect somebody. Now, the Democrat Party is crashing and burning.
Right.
It's going to need a lifeline. I think these people, they won't be strong enough to beat David Hogg. There's a little double entendre there. I mean, David Hogg's a twig. Did you see his build the other day? Anyway, dude looks like a toothpick. Anyway,
that's the
Parkland shooter.
Kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do liberal.
I like my network. I don't want to get. I don't want it to end up in court for auction. But no, that was Sandy Hook, wasn't it? Parkland's different. Anyway.
No, he's from Parkland.
Oh, there was this theory floating around that Elon Musk bought InfoWars, which is why Alex Jones won't criticize him anymore.
Oh,
that's just a theory, though. We might need to dig into.
We
that
might
one.
need to dig into.
It's not on paper, but I mean, as we can tell with all these organizations, they're all slush funds. All NGOs run through a USAID. This money changes hands so many times, but it's fungible. Anyway, one of the sides of the split is going to have to essentially take over the infrastructure of the Democratic Party. I'd be willing to bet it is going to be the further right side, which is going to shock a lot of people.
Really?
Yes.
You think the far right is going to take over the Democrat infrastructure?
I think
I wouldn't have thought that.
Eventually they will have to, because what's happened is you have Tulsi Gabbard, you have RFK, you have Elon Musk, you have all these Democrats that have kind of switched parties to the Republican Party. What does that mean if they just switch right back to the Democrat Party? It's not going to happen. So they don't have the balls to do it. 1, 2, the people that do have the balls are further right. So if there's an opening to hijack, let's say, an infrastructure that already exists because it's weak enough to be taken over, it will be by the people that are willing to do it. And so I think if the split happens, like I believe it will, and I think it will, then it would behoove them to hijack the Democratic infrastructure. You can keep the name, throw the name out. Who cares? The infrastructure is what matters. And once you gain control of that infrastructure, it is then yours. Case in point, Donald Trump takes the presidency. Infrastructure is his. It's now his to do with what he wants. Copy, paste across the board. Once you get enough people into a system, it then becomes yours. Case in point, Elon Musk and DOGE. I mean, they have control of the Republican Party right now. Is that a long shot? Yeah. I mean, that's a long theory. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but I do see something like that is going to happen if the right wants to retain some type of power, because there's this struggle of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy against, you could say, J.D. Vance and the nationalist side of that party.
I'm a little.
What do you think about that? I mean, it's a little bit out there, but give me a little thought on that.
Because now we're kind of transitioning into like the inevitable split on the right wing, which I think is an actually like more interesting topic than baby daddy Musk. But I do think so. So here's the thing about that. It's an interesting theory that the Democrat infrastructure will be taken over by the opposite of it. You know what I mean? Like the hardcore.
I mean, I'm kind of throwing this on you.
Yeah. So let me say this.
Let's work through it.
I think
because it's just something I thought about this morning. I was like, if the split happens, there's only so much power that can be spread on the right, and there's too much power struggle for either to get anything really done. So the power has to be gained another way.
I'm thinking, because like we hadn't talked about this beforehand, and I'm really kind of like processing
here's
it
what I'm
right
thinking.
now.
The Democrat Party is extremely weak right now. I mean, they have David Hogg as their DNC chairman or vice chairman, whatever he is right now. I mean, that's like you know, you're grasping at straws at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they still hold a lot of power in Congress, but I think the grassroots movement, I think if there's not enough substance there for them to continue on doing what they're doing, especially once you empty all the coffers that are filling their pockets.
I think,
but the infrastructure remains for a power to take over that void that is going to exist.
Now, here's what I think is more likely, and I think that's a very hopeful projection of the future, or prophecy, so to speak. But what I think is more likely to happen first is this idea that like. So are you basically saying, let me ask a clarifying question first. Are you saying that at some point in time, maybe not even within our lifetimes, but the split within the right will basically overshadow the left entirely, and it'll like the country will be on whole right wing?
I would say at this
the two
point,
parties will be right wing.
Given the trajectory of Donald Trump's approval rating, the right is the only thing that matters. And because the right is really the only thing that matters, it controls the vast majority of momentum at, let's say, 75, 80%.
The wheels are spinning.
There's a split of, again, these GDP economic capitalists onlys versus, cogs in a machine versus a nationalistic, Ordo Amoris type Americans, that there's not enough power for both to exist in a singular party. So a second party is going to have to exist, and we've talked about this back in 2016, we talked 2015, 2019, 2020, where Trump creates this new party. I don't think it's Trump that creates a new party. I don't think a new party can be created just because of the structure of the system itself. I mean, there's the Republican Party and there's the Democrat Party. These infrastructure exists across the country that you essentially have to be one or the other to become any type of candidate. So if that is the case, and the Republican Party and Trump and J.D. Vance and all these people keep growing in approval rating, there's going to be a vacuum of the Democrat Party, especially at a grassroots level. I mean, obviously, you'll still have Congress, which is essentially split. I think it'll kind of lose one or two year over year, election over election. But on a grassroots level, in the offices, making phone calls, and getting involved, the younger generation is willing to do that, and they're significantly further right. And so, will it happen? I don't know. Is it possible? It's very possible that the Democrat Party becomes further right than the Republican Party.
You know, like you said, you just kind of sprung this on me. But honestly, the more I think about it, the more I kind of see where you're coming from, because I'm thinking, where will the left wing, like the hardcore left wing people go? I don't think.
Well, they'll go to the same place.
Well, exactly.
The right was.
Exactly. It's like when a conservative, I hate when conservatives do these days. They're like, oh, you're voting Democrat? Did you know the Democrats were like in favor of slavery? It's like, yeah, that was like over 100 years ago, dude. Like, things change. It's not the same. Well, it's not the same party at all.
I think it'll go along the same lines of, oh, you're a Nazi, racist, homophobic bigot or whatever. It's just a label at this point. The words don't mean anything. In the Democrat Party, yeah, they have a platform, but what is it to change that platform once you get power? I could
totally see a scenario where you see on the current conservative right-wing space, Elon, Peter Thiel, you know, they're basically in control of the right wing right now, where there comes a push come to shove moment, kind of like the H-1B visa thing we saw in late December, where, you know, there's this thirst for something truly Christian. There's this pushback against a core Christian thing from Elon that upsets a lot of people, and the reaction to it is for someone to kind of rise out of that grief and call people to their side. But they're not, you know, whoever the Elon, Trump, you know, whoever the conservative candidate is, bought and paid for by Elon, is going to run as a Republican, because that's what Elon is invested in. And I could see a truly like hardcore Christian person running against them as a Democrat. And then as this divide becomes more and more apparent, the people that were like these sort of out there pro-homosexual, out there pro-transgender, running as a Democrat and losing to the Elon Musk bought and paid for Republican candidate, eventually the Republican conservative thing almost reabsorbs the transgender movement. Like, you know, so to say, I hope I'm not too over the place here, but I kind of get what you're saying.
I think it already does. I mean, what is the Republican Party right now if it's not simply the Democrat Party of 2008? I mean, Obama, when he came into office, wasn't even pro-gay marriage. I mean, I don't even think gay marriage exists, but the point stands. What is the Republican Party if it's not the Democrat Party of less than 20 years ago, let's say 15? And it's going to be the same way 4 years from now. And so when we keep moving this needle, there's this umbrella of the Republican Party. Where's my screen? I'm on the right. That's your left. Okay. Umbrella Republican Party. It started like this. We keep getting bigger, 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 bigger. Umbrella. And the Democrat Party's over here getting smaller, 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 to a point where it can be taken over. Mm-hmm. And whoopsie daisy, somebody just stole the Democrat Party. I think once there's a void that exists in the Democrat Party, it can be controlled by a large portion of nationalists that are rising up in this, what we can call this movement right now, before it gets a name, of heritage Americans that care about not being displaced by foreigners, that don't want to be seen as a GDP productionist, that want to save the country as it is. Again, this is just, I'm just kind of tossing this out here. I thought about it this morning. Haven't worked through it. That's what we're doing right now.
Right. I think you're actually right. I think you're kind of onto something here. Initially, I was kind of like, whoa, it's kind of like a crazy thing to think about. But I think you actually do have a point where you see basically, I've brought this up on the show before. Elon Musk posted a meme years ago. I remember this before Elon Musk really became like obviously as predominant as he is today in politics, where the left wing, it was like after Trump got elected, the left wing was so like over the top socially liberal and like dogmatic, where you had to believe these things. There was no room, like you were not considered a liberal if you weren't pro transgenders all over the place. And Elon Musk posted a meme where it shows, here's where he is. Like there's the left, there's the right, and he's in the middle. The left wing pushed so far left that the middle became the right or more right. So he's not like a Christian. He's not like a Christian nationalist conservative type guy, but he has now, because of that huge split, fallen into the right wing category. And I could see where the moderates, like Ken talked about this on Wake Up Carolina, where the true problem is not the Democrats. The true problem is the moderates, where these wishy-washy moderates almost have recaptured. They've captured the right wing, and like they're throwing. This is what I said about J.D. Vance's speech in Munich, where they're throwing out these little, like they know what the radicals want. They know what the American people. They know the American people en masse will not be in favor. Yes, they will not be in favor.
Hold on, go ahead, keep talking.
They will not be in favor of H-1B visas and being replaced by high-skilled immigrants from India and China. They will not be in favor of that. But Elon, so they feed what the base wants to hear. Red meat for the base to keep them in line. And I could see as time goes on, that no longer begins to work. People start to kind of wake up to it en masse. The boomers will die out. This obsession with like civil rights and Martin Luther King Jr., that obsession is going to peter out. And people are going to have a more realistic view on social liberalism and social conservatism. And as that hunger for social conservatism increases, the void will, like you said, the infrastructure on the left will basically be reassimilated. And what you've seen is just this. It's exactly where we were before, but the party names have switched.
Yeah, I want to point out on this meme, I don't necessarily agree with it. Let's see if I can do this. This is going to be hard. Okay, so top point, yeah, sure. Largely agree with the top time frame. The second time frame, I want to note that I don't necessarily believe that the line itself has actually grown that much. I think that the line is still about the same size as the top one. There's just the guy in the middle has shifted center. I don't believe... And this is on an economical aspect and not a social aspect. They believe themselves to be further right economically, therefore they consider themselves right, and they move to the Republican Party. And then you have the extreme left that is more transgenderism. It's existed, but it's more prominent now. There's more of them. They haven't necessarily moved left. They've just... there's more of them, and it's more prominent, right. It's more obvious, and so they don't want to be associated with that. And so it's very specifically for them an economic aspect, but for us it's a social aspect in a preservation of self and country. Maybe I didn't make my point entirely clear. Again, the left and the right have, let's just assume that the left is here and the right is here. I'm assuming on their screen it would be that. Yeah. So left, right. Elon Musk is here and he's been shifting this way just a little bit every now and then until he considers himself right. And the same thing happens with people like Blair White. Lady MAGA. These people are transgenders. They exist in the Republican Party. They are accepted in the Republican Party. So what is the difference between the Republican Party that accepts and tolerates people as they are in this aspect of transgenderism, and the Democrat Party. There's not. All it's done is the Republican Party's opened up to a large umbrella to the point where there's too much inside of it. There's too many differences that it's going to have a split, and that split in the Republican Party is going to give way, is taking power from the Democrat Party to a point where the split in the Republican Party is going to look for power, and the Democrat infrastructure is where they're going to go to get it. That's
going to be interesting to see where basically like a hypothetical future presidential race between an an 80-year-old Elon Musk sponsored candidate, like where Elon Musk is 80 years old and whoever he has running for president, then they're going to be going up again, like let's say they're running their second term. The Democrat what's going to be interesting about that hypothetical race is the Democrat primary, where you've got a maybe moderate to social, like hardcore socially liberal Democrat running against a hardcore socially conservative person in the Democrat primary. And then, ideally, the Republican would run.
What's to stop somebody from going to the Democrat Party? A lot of people going to the Democrat Party, gaining this power within the Democrat Party from the ground up, and simply rename it. The RNC is the GOP, right? You can just simply rename the thing. You can do things, Josh.
Yeah. Excuse me. God.
It's kind of an out there, like, hypothetical theory, but
it's interesting though.
I'm just trying to play out this split that's going to happen. That's obviously happening. And it's obviously happening with a younger generation. Where does this younger generation go? They can't stay in the Republican Party because there's so many faggots around. Whether that's transgender faggots or just faggots in general, like these kind of faggots right here. Like I'm not going to continue to promote this garbage. Like these people should be in prison, quite simply.
Yeah.
Jail time, if not millstone. Josh, this is our
these are
Republicans. Men. What are we doing?
Exactly. Two dudes.
What does Republican even mean at this point? What are two sides? It's the same thing. The umbrella is so large. The only difference that they can make is, we like capitalism and they like socialism, so we'll take capitalistic transgenders while they take, I don't know, socialistic transition.
Yeah.
The distinction doesn't even make any sense anymore.
This 1990s, like I'm a big, I think I mentioned this guy, but Anthony Cumia, he's a very big proponent. He's not a Christian, but he is a hardcore kind of like your stereotypical right-wing Italian guy. But he's not socially conservative. He's pro-abortion. He's a very like libertarian-esque guy. I think he's funny, but he's very libertarian, and that is who Elon Musk is. This basically like, also, I think a lot of these people are grifters. I think God, you know this. I'm terrible with names. Who was the gay couple you just had? Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin is conservative to sell his crappy books so he can make money. I'm sure he wants to keep a little bit extra of his taxes, but that's not what the right wing is about. And this is what I've tried to be critical on Wake Up Carolina of Elon Musk is America First used to mean putting Americans first, putting Christ back in Christmas, putting God back in the schools, and now it's let's undo fraud in the government level, which is good. We need to do that. We need to get rid of that. But that is not what America First is. It's not the American dollar first. It's the American people first.
Yeah, and I like to look at, Nick Fuentes, say what you will about him. Sebastian Gorka, say what you will about him. And we've talked about kind of doing more of a structured video on this split between inside of America First, inside of the Republican Party, call it what you will, of their two shows, Nick Fuentes and Sebastian Gorka, are both named America First, but they're very, very distinctly different. You could call Nick Fuentes what you want. We'll call him, for the sake of argument right now, we'll just call him a Christian nationalist. And Sebastian Gorka is a pure capitalist in every sense of the word. And so that's what these two shows are about. And they're directly conflicting in that one is a preservationist and one is progressive, just not in the typical progressive sense. One just wants to progress through capitalism as fast as possible and accrue as much money and wealth and distinction and immigrants as fast as possible so that we can grow this economy, because we're all just cogs in a machine. And the other one is arguing for nationalism and the idea that Americans deserve America. Like
the American dream versus the American spirit. Like America is more than just, I want to have a nice house and be able to retire. It's a heart and soul. It's a living, breathing thing. It's a culture that runs extremely deep in an admiration of its history and its heritage that is trying to, like, people are trying to take it away from us. And then every time you saw this with the Tea Party, every time something along this line happened, it gets infiltrated and corrupted. And hopefully things will be different this time. This is why, like, shows like I think Nick Vujicic and hopefully ours can kind of point this out to people, because you know, like I've said it multiple times, I work in radio. I work on Wake Up Carolina. It's a conservative political commentary show. It's on radio. The majority of the listeners are boomers. They're of the older generation, and you know, God love them. I love the caller. I enjoy the show, but some of these ideas, like ideas like Christian nationalism, it's not even like, oh, it's a radical idea. People have these like tripwires to where they won't even consider something like this. They won't even consider something slightly radical. They're bought into the Anthony Cumia, like the American dream versus the American. It's about, well, I don't want to. It's not my place to step on anyone's freedom of religion. Kind of is, actually. I think we as Christians have a responsibility to our fellow man, and letting them do whatever they want is not responsible. You can't do that with your children.
That, religion and laws are inescapable. They are directly linked. No matter how you want to see it, you can call yourself libertarian or whatever. Laws exist because someone believes that they should. It's a moral framework. That's what laws are, a moral framework. That's what religion is. It's a moral framework. These two things go hand in hand. The Christian religion is the greatest moral framework because it is true. It is quite simply that. And so if it is true, if you believe it is true, then it is your duty, your ought to enforce that morality on a people. Or if you don't like that wording, if you don't like the semantics of that, it is your duty to what do they like to say? I don't want to make somebody do something moral. What's the phrase they use? Oh boy.
Who's they?
Just people in general. They say you can't enforce morality. Well, I say you can enforce immorality. You can enforce immorality. Is that? Yeah. I can say you shouldn't murder someone. That's a moral statement. That's a claim to a moral authority that you shouldn't murder someone. And if you do, you go to prison. Mm-hmm. I'm not obligating you to do a thing. I'm telling you that if you do a thing, you are going to be punished. That's completely an establishment of religion inside of a moral framework that we call a law.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, this is something I was talking with Ken Art about once, is I was like, let's not debate Christian nationalism. Let's not debate this giant broad topic here. Let's narrow it down to this. Why should adultery not be illegal? Why can't we make that illegal? Like divorce, for example. What is, and they go, well, people wouldn't like it. I'm like, yeah, people don't like lots of things. People that find out their wife is cheating on them and, kill them in a fit of rage and then go to jail for it. They're not happy they're in jail. And even if they regretted the crime, they're not happy about punishment.
Not happy? The kid out of wedlock. That's who's not happy.
Totally brain raped.
It is good for society for a family to stay together.
Yes. Yes, this is not up for debate. There's no study that you could post that would make me think that. It is so obvious that, like, the whole, like, we've talked about this before, the focus on credentialism, on empiricism, where, like, you need a study, you need, like, some doctor to tell you what to think and how to feel, like, where morality comes from. Which, funny enough, when they do that, it turns out that the Christian, that, like, having children out of wedlock is bad for the children when you actually research. So it's not even a big surprise. But yes, it's like, we do know what's good for people.
And again, it gets back to this question of, are we arguing for more freedom to do what one wills rather than what one ought to do? Or are we arguing for a better society? And where does the structure in that better society come from? And it always leads back to this. A Christian nationalist society or a society that is built on Christianity is going to be better in general and in specifics across the board than a society that is purely based on this idea of freedom, right? This idea of Christianity guiding the conversation and the laws and everything else is a liberty idea, in that we ought to have babies inside of marriage.
Yes.
We ought to capital punish people inside of the law. And we ought to do things that progress society in a way that it ought to be progressive, rather than progressing society simply because the almighty dollar exists and we're addicted to it.
Exactly.
I don't know why this conversation is so hard for people. I think this idea of nationalism, well, first of all, it's very misunderstood. I mean, nationalism is inherently racial.
Yeah.
And so
that too.
Anything race bad, even though all the studies, all the arguments, everything that's ever been studied on it, especially prior to the 70s, because they put a blacklist on racial IQs, is everybody's equal under the law, but we aren't all equal as individuals.
Exactly. Or even as groups.
Or even as groups.
Exactly.
I saw a comedian earlier today. I saw a clip of a comedian basically saying, no babies are racist or bigoted until they understand racial statistics. And per capita. But once you learn per capita, you can never go back. So, I mean, it's so true though, dude. And I mean, you can make the argument for anecdotal data too, but the racial statistics hit pretty hard.
Yeah, and again, it's like you go back to, no one's allowed to be a nationalist anymore. No one's allowed to be a fascist anymore because of the H-man. I don't know if we can say his name on YouTube, but 1930s chancellor from Germany, that guy.
That artist guy?
Yeah, the Austrian painter. You can't, like, like, I remember, like, you hear, I grew up hearing the word fascist. Like, you can't, like, fascist, fat, like, oh, well, that's bad. I'm not a fascist. I just think we should have strict laws, And when you actually read what it's about, it's like, I mean, it's not terrible. Like, what's the big problem? Because the H-man
I'll tell you, I mean, I've grown up listening to this spiel about communism bad, socialism bad, communism bad. We got to fight communism. Communism's the end of the world. The Chi-Coms are coming. China's taking all of our jobs and all of our infrastructure and all of our money and all of our people, and they're going to invade. Well, we have a solution to communism. And we've had it for a long time. Some would say since the 30s. It originated in Italy. But it's a bad word. So we can't do it because something happened maybe a long time ago. I don't understand. I mean, we have the solution. Use the solution. Not the final one, but a solution to the problem, which is communism. But you bring this up to the people that want to, whine and complain about communism, and they're like, oh, fascism bad, authoritarianism bad. It's all tiresome, man. I don't care. Call me a fascist. Call me what you will. I'm a nationalist. I'm a Christian, and I just want to preserve my country. I I want to preserve something for my son to have of what's left from, and when we talk about boomers, I don't necessarily talk about my dad. I mean, specifically, it's no one specifically. I mean, we can start naming names, but it's a spirituality aspect, a mental capacity for people that want to preserve something for the next generation. Mm-hmm. And in the same way, these people want to give it away. I mean, they just want to give it away because they're not willing to do what it takes to preserve it.
Yeah, and like you were saying, your dad doesn't fall into this category. My dad's not a boomer, but he doesn't fall into this category.
I don't know if he's a boomer or not. I don't know. I don't even know the age range. But again, that's the point. I don't care what the age range is.
And it's basically how, like, the capitalist versus communism thing, the spiritual boomer is so obsessed with capitalism over communism that they're basically okay with us becoming. I mean, think about it. What's the difference between the Soviet state owning all property in Soviet Russia and divvying it out based on like communal standards versus a couple private citizens like Elon Musk owning every property in the United States, and then you rent it from, what's really the difference?
Well, you could call them corporations. I mean, that's what corporations are doing. BlackRock, Vanguard, they're buying out real estate.
Yeah,
and they're
asset managers. Yeah. What's the the government under a communist society is an asset manager. That's what it is.
I mean, the government under an oligarchy, which is what we have, are asset managers. That's what we have. I mean, they own almost everything. Especially these venture capital firms are. I mean, they own a substantial amount of stock in large corporations, and so they gain control of what they wish for that company to do and how to perform. Where do they get their money? They get their money from investments. Where the investments, at least 50% of all wealth is in boomers' investment funds. The boomers are paying for these companies to disrupt essentially our lives, our inheritance, America in general, because they're unwilling to pull their money out of their 401k. It's like, dude, your 401's going to crash anyway if we keep importing all of these immigrants.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so tiresome, man. There's so many circles that keep going on and on and on and on and on. It's like, dude, just like wake up. Something has to be done. We can't keep on this path or we won't have anything. It's all so tiresome. I'm so tired, Josh. I'm so tired. I'm only 32, dude.
What's the what's that?
Who's listening?
What's that
right
famous
now?
painting where the dude's all like
Send
depressed?
me a comment, huh?
What's that famous painting where the dude? Oh, is it Napoleon where he's just like depressed? Like that's how I'm feeling right now.
One you're talking about?
Well, like where Napoleon knew he was going to lose the Battle of Waterloo, and he was just like, "Shit," That's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
But we gotta be mindful, man. We gotta keep an eye on, like, hey, I'm happy with what Elon Musk is doing. Schmuckatelli says, what? I'm happy with what Elon Musk is doing with DOGE and everything.
I need to get Stu to call in.
But that's not the end goal.
I'm gonna get Stu to call in.
If there were no fraud.
This is Wine About Boomer show.
It always comes back around to that, it seems like. But
well, that's the core of the issue. I mean, on a larger scale, it's what's called the post-war consensus. Yeah. But largely, it's the boomers that have bought into it and are unwilling to do anything about it, even though they know how to fix it. They're unwilling to do anything to fix it because they're all going to retire or die soon. So, What's the point? I do want to ask Stu about our earlier conversation. You want me to spill it to him real quick?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Here's what we got, Stu. The Republican Party umbrella is getting so large that there's going to create a void in the Democrat Party that no one's really going to be able to get elected, at least from the grassroots. Then, the politicians up in D.C. will retain power. My idea is that this split in the Republican Party that's coming from nationalists, that's for you, from nationalists to against the capitalists per se, one of these parties is going to have to essentially take over the Democrat Party if they want to retain any power in the political structure. Otherwise, one is just going to outbid the other. And I think this further right nationalist movement is going to need to take over the infrastructure of the Democrat Party, because you can't simply just create a new political party. Does that make sense?
When he first said it to me, I was very like, but the more I thought about it, makes sense to me.
If there's any power to be retained, it's going to have to be to that some extent.
Here's the main thing. I want to push back a little bit. I know we kind of covered this, but I want to push back a little bit on it.
Go ahead.
This is our disagreement, like with J.D. Vance, for example, is Peter Thiel is a CIA spook. Peter Thiel is a total subverter. He started buying up stuff in 2016, like when the right wing was kind of becoming what it is today. He already started on that. Like them buying up, you know, Peter Thiel was probably a Democrat like back then. I mean, I guarantee he was, but they understand that with their hold on. The hypothetical ball, the hypothetical ball that Peter Thiel and these guys, their eye is on, is the uprising, is the subverters, because and that's what they infiltrate. They're not dedicated to the, like, I'm afraid what's going to happen is, because this has happened before. Tea Party, America First. Once there's this deviation, they'll infiltrate that too.
I see what you're trying to say. I think, and maybe I'm naive for thinking this, but I think the people on our movement is more willing to not accept money like that than what would be more fringe 5-8 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe.
My thought basically is like I refer to it on my Saturday show as the 100-year plan, where basically to get to where we want things to be, it is going to have to take a total realignment of everything.
Yes.
I mean, Hollywood, news media, all the industries.
They're all being defunded right now. I think that's a part of kind of being thrown into this theory a little bit, is all of their funding is being destroyed right now. They'll have no funding in a year, at least not through the government structures. Stu says, Tinfoil Hat, he basically he's making an argument for the dialectic is fake and it's run, and I partially agree to a point. I don't think they have as much power in the nationalist movement side of things as they typically do with regard to Republican versus Democrat side of things. It's too new. They haven't been able to dig their heels in enough, and I'm sure Josh will have a say on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I don't have like a hard opinion on this, but it's like we've seen that like these people. I mean, like, he works for the CIA. The CIA knows how things work. The CIA works on early infiltration. You know what I mean? Every possible thing that is going to have an effort of infiltration, which is why I think the America First doctrine needs to be gatekept, where like the Christian nationalist doctrine needs to be gatekept.
I don't know if you'll be able to gatekeep it simply because there's no defining thing to be gatekept yet.
Exactly the point is it's
and
like,
maybe we can kind of talk through our, what we're going to be working on here in a second is basically what me and Josh want to do is outline what is America First and these different movements that have created a nationalistic movement moving forward, which Rodney has kind of asked, is it a movement? I would say it is a movement. It's just a decentralized movement. And this decentralization of the movement or the decentralization coming to the same point, which is kind of where we're going to end up, is you take these red pillars like Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit, what's his name? Myron, Nick Fuentes types. And they have this, we kind of mentioned earlier, where they don't really have a religious structure to them. They're just red pillars. They observe society and they say, oh, this thing bad, this is how we fix it. We become more nationalistic. And the same thing could be said for people like Stephen Wolf, or I would argue J.D. Vance, maybe Josh Wooden, some of these guys who like Stephen Wolf, you'll see Dusty Devers, names like this pop up that are more nationalistic. And we basically all agree that the things that are bad. We just kind of come at it from a different point, a different place, to a point of this is America first. It should be Americans first moving forward. Maybe dive into that. I think I butchered that a little bit, just saying maybe you could clear it up for them, for the people out there.
Well, I mean, it's going to be, because I don't know if
There's going to be a long video.
Agree.
It's a lot there.
Yeah.
You don't agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with the take, you know what I mean? But like,
Do you agree? No, he's a boomer.
If he could speak, he'd be
don't
like,
agree with
libertarian freedom. If people want to OD on heroin, well, that's their prerogative.
Don't hurt me, I won't hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, just do it in your bedroom. Oh, it won't get into the street and into my child's TV screen.
Yeah, whatever people do in the privacy of their own homes.
So exhausting. All right. Okay, so what do you disagree with? Where's your disagreement then?
Well, what I meant by like gatekeeping was kind of like having a clear definition to where infiltrators are instantly spotted. Like for example, I mean, I believe that the January 6th Capitol riot.
Well, the only way to do that is to force non-anonymity.
Okay, and this is what I was thinking about this the other day. With the way tech and the internet and surveillance is it's like, this is something we were talking about with Rodney. He said we need to like define the movement. What's the movement's name? What is the movement about? And then we talked about this after the show, which is basically the nature of movements is different. Like to say like, let's make a movement, that's almost like a boomer mentality too, where it's like a movement where it has a name, it has like a sign-in sheet, it has people's like addresses and like an email list. That is almost like a negative thing these days. Like you don't want that because then they can target people more easily. But when it's diversified, it's more open. Like when it's not like that, when it's kind of spread out, it's more open to infiltration. So the system now is almost set up to stop this from happening. And again, it's like, it's not like I'm here telling you what the solution is, more so just being a naysayer, you know what I mean? But like those are the concerns. And it's not like, well, here's my concern one way, therefore we should go the other way. There's concerns on both sides. Organizing a movement just puts a target on your back. Not organizing in a movement allows infiltration. And that's why, like, when I say gatekeeping, it's like,
you're saying it has to be
saying like
organic with no leaders, essentially. No leaders, quote unquote.
Yes.
It has to
where,
I think,
which I think is possible, where
right
someone who's like a spiritual, not conservative, but like someone who's like when we say spiritual boomer, someone who's a spiritual Christian nationalist should be able to identify that in other people and say, these guys are good. I don't know everything about them, but they're good. This guy's not. This guy's clearly like a subverter. When they say, you know what, I'm a Christian nationalist, but I think gay people should get married.
I would say that depends on the situation at hand. It's like should we side with Muslims to pass something that would make a law more traditional that we would agree with? And I would say yes, to an extent, but how far does that cooperation go? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're like a conditional alliance where it's like, okay, there's a bill, like there's, I'm voting on a bill against gay marriage and the Muslims are voting with us.
Absolutely.
Fine. But there's a, then they want to do some weird sand people crap. And then it's like, whoa, what about the alliance? Well, it doesn't apply here.
Okay. And I've kind of thought about this too, is how far is someone willing to go, or how far is someone willing to align with someone else. Like it's like I say on the show when Rodney, everybody to my left is a communist, everybody to the right is a Nazi. I think the person that we're able to align with is the one that is not willing to say everybody to my right is a Nazi.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not that far right, I should be able to agree, maybe not even agree with them, but at least work with, in conjunction with that person that is further right to me to kind of shift this window, continue to shift this window of nationalism, because that's what's going to end up saving us.
Ironic that Thor is in favor of Christian nationalism.
Yeah, I think, and you're seeing this play out on Twitter, and there's a lot of really the number one target right now is called Stone Choir. I've sent you some of their podcasts before, but they're taking a lot of heat because they push the window further. They make that they understand where this battlefield is heading. It is a racial battlefield. And that's where it's going to go. Once we get rid of all the illegals, it's still a racial argument of what is an American. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be racial. It always has. It always will. And in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, where we grew up, this idea that everybody is equal and there's no differences between us is asinine. There's no argument to be made. We'll take comments in a second. Let me finish this point. Anyway, but this is a racial argument that Stone Choir is taking a lot of heat, even from people that I would consider significantly right, that take heat from, Media Matters. They take heat from people that are significantly left, yet they're alienating people on the right of them that are essentially pioneering the battlefield that is going to have to be fought moving forward. So I would say someone that is willing to associate with someone further right than them without an end. There's no further right to ostracize, because does that make sense? We just don't have the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody to the left of me is a commie. Like I would work with somebody. I mean, shit.
Oh,
working with Elon right now.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like gatekeeping in politics, but it's like.
Well, I'm just. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah. Where the movement, like
we don't need to be calling names.
Yes.
For no reason.
Yes.
That don't mean anything.
What I mean is like, what I don't want is what we've seen happen, where like the neocons. You have people that were neocons. They like, oh, I've seen the light, and now I'm an America firster, like Tucker Carlson, and then his definition of America first is like a slightly revised version of neoconism. You know what I mean? And that's like, I don't want people to define our movement in the same way like the modern day conservative movement is, where it's, oh, hey, well, we don't care, as long as you're pro economy, then you can be a transgender, you can be a homosexual, come on. Like, which obviously, but the point is, that's what we're expecting because that's what we've experienced. When the movement becomes like truly active, the subverters will adapt to it. It won't be what we've already seen. It'll be something new. And that's what we need to be careful of. That's what we need to be wary of.
Yeah. Val Thorne had a comment about the black budget, special access programs. Let me see if I can pull this up, if it'll even let me. How does this work? Well, let me pull it up in here. Oh, man. It's not supported. Anyway, this is it's a video of a guy kind of talking about they're coming after PPP loans, saying he knows about 50 people that have been jailed for fraud, check fraud, wire fraud, and a couple of other things that are going back to PPP loans. I think they are, he says, maybe it's too much to ask for. I think they're coming after everything. I don't think anything is off limits. Mm-hmm. And the PPP loans being, a lot of them being fraudulent, especially in the black community, is, I don't know, good news to me. People are being, they're literally being arrested and jailed for abusing PPP loans. It's coming. It's just not been addressed yet.
Yeah. Like, obviously, like, a win is a win, but, we just got to be careful of what is like Elon Musk has baggage. We need to understand that. Like this is, you know, I mentioned Ken Hart a couple times. He's said to me that like he doesn't believe that Elon Musk is on the same page as even him, as Ken Hart, but they're helpful to us right now. Understand. But who do you think at the end of the day, who's more helpful to whom? Are we more helpful to him, or is he more helpful to us? Once our values split from Elon's, who's going to come out on top?
It's not a value equation right now.
You know what I mean, though. You know what I mean. It's like when we come across an issue that we disagree with Elon Musk on, like H-1B.
Like having kids out of marriage.
Yes. Who's going to come out on top of that? The richest man on earth who owns rocket ships and you know, like the biggest electric car company on the planet, or you and I?
I mean, you and I is more than just 1, 2, 3 people. I mean,
I get that.
There's a movement that's happening. People are just tired, and a significantly younger generation. Where we make that divide is, I don't think it's necessarily on the values itself. I mean, we know what we're getting with Elon Musk. I mean, we know what we're getting. A dude that just wants to have a ton of kids. He's pro-natalist, which is great, but he's not pro-family. Obviously, he's not pro-family. Mm-hmm. He's a purely, essentially a pro-capitalist. You don't become the richest man in the world without some extreme affinity for money. It just doesn't happen. And people that want to make that argument are retards. And so the issue isn't where do we separate on a value aspect. The issue is where do we separate on where he's willing or where he's able to aid us in getting us to where we want to go, which at this point in time, until we get there, is a complete destruction of the system. We don't need him to rebuild. We need him to destroy. And that's what he's doing right now with DOGE. And I'm fine with that. It all needs to be destroyed. Every single aspect of it. Anything even closely related to waste, fraud, and abuse needs to go. I don't care if it's white, black. I don't care. It all needs to go. We need to start from scratch and move forward.
Right. But I think some of the main issue, I would say, like if I could solve waste, fraud, and abuse,
he's shifting people on the right of him to his position. Yes. I guess is the question. You think he is from a values aspect?
Well, not like, you know. What concerns me is someone like us, someone that's not as plugged in, but someone who generally believes in, like, I don't believe that a gay marriage is a legitimate marriage. I don't believe a gay couple should be able to purchase a kid online and you know, have like a fake pregnancy to give us like a ready-made baby. Exactly.
Well, I don't think they should exist in the first place. Exactly. But that's a different argument.
Exactly. But the point is, someone who agrees with us on that will be like willing to take less.
He's essentially making the argument that the Black Budget Fund is a $1.9 trillion. Well, I would like to make the case that the Pentagon also lost $2.3 trillion back in when was that, Josh? When did they lose $2.3 trillion? Do you know about this?
Probably, but the vagary is not making it clear.
Take a shot.
The Iraq War?
Almost. 9/11.
Okay, yeah. We're on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, when the airplane flew into the Pentagon and blew up only one side where they store all the records. But anyway, I think he's making the same place. And where did the $2.3 trillion come from? Where did that go? I mean, you could make the same argument as a Black Budget Fund itself. Mm-hmm. I haven't looked into it. Maybe I will. That seems interesting. I know the 1.9 trillion is being.
Do you know who that guy is?
I think he's from No White Guilt. That's a good stream, by the way, if you ever catch him. I'll
need to check it out.
He's
thank you, Valiant Thor.
he's got some pretty solid takes. But he don't like to push the Jew pill as much. He thinks it's a crutch.
The Jew pill?
Yeah.
I
What do you
get it.
think
I
about
disagree.
that? You think you disagree?
With
He
that,
thinks. I think maybe you can
that it's a
check
crutch.
me on this, Thor. He thinks that I say a crutch. I think he thinks it's bad optics, and it doesn't get much pushed when you lean on it so heavily.
I think it's bad optics because it's true. Like, because, you know, we're totally infiltrated, and that's why it's bad optics, which I think for people to really acknowledge that. That's why, like, for example, the whole Kanye thing. I'm not as on board with that as someone like Nick Fuentes is, but I do believe that the sort of bluntness of it, like what happened to Kanye, like he's kind of throwing himself under the bus now and kind of ruining the credibility that was given. But basically, like one of the only black billionaires on the planet to have everything taken away for, you know, saying untrue anti-Semitic things, that's a red pill. And that gets the conversation going in the right way, because
they proved his point.
And this is what I was saying, is that like the main issue with what's going on in America right now is corruption, and fixing like basically cutting out the little succubi on the bottom that are getting like money through all these fraudulent like USAID things. Like that, it's good and that needs to go, but that is not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is
I mean, I do think he has a point. You shouldn't be spurging out on the Jews.
It needs to be handled
the case needs to be
and carefully.
made that they
But it can't be ignored.
disproportionately a lot of power, and also they're degenerate, nepotistic individuals.
Yes.
Weak men and single women vote for Democrats and socialism because if you can't compete, you want the government to take from the strong and give to you. It's a survival technique. Well, I think it's not necessarily that as much as it is people are lazy. And there's no accountability in those cultures to require work, and whether that's work for maintaining a family or work for going out and getting paid by working a job. And this is the thing I touched on the other day, is accountability is what makes the Western world great, along with other reasons, obviously. And so the Western culture drives accountability for each other, and internal accountability. I hold Josh accountable the same way Josh would hold me accountable. And when we get in trouble is where we try to hold other cultures accountable and hold them to the standard of the Western world. And it just crumbles because they simply can't hold to that standard. And so because they can't hold to that standard, you have weak men and women that will forcibly apply a safety net that people are allowed to just pull money out of to quote unquote survive. I mean, they're not getting bread.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't stealing bread. We coming out with Jordans. Anyway, RFK dropped. I think he's going to do away with junk food on EBT cards. That's good.
Hey,
we
that's
are
good.
no longer subsidizing obesity with our tax dollars. That's a positive.
Good. Much needed.
I mean, we should ban it entirely, but I'll take what I can get right now.
Yeah.
RFK is another one. He's a Kennedy man. I mean, he's at his core, he is a Democrat, but he in the health world, I'll take him as long as he stays in his narrow lane of make America healthy again. I'll take him. He starts jumping out of his lane, we can toss him to the side. Again, that's kind of back to the argument of this decentralization of as long as we can keep people in their lane and let them apply the pressure where we need them, whether that's Elon at DOGE and infiltrating some of these organizations to defund our enemies, or it's RFK going in and getting rid of some of our enemies, whether that's Pfizer or Moderna or I don't know, Frito-Lays through funding. I mean, think about this. If I don't know how much you know about the EBT system, but and gas stations, but they go into these stores and they live off of chips and snacks. And so a vast majority of these EBT and SNAP benefits are becoming food for them. And so if you continually subsidize these companies of snack food through EBT and SNAP benefits, then they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Now, what happens when you take away that subsidization under the name of EBT or SNAP?
I'm fine with that.
I think we see less candy at the store.
I love Cool Ranch Doritos just as much as the next guy. But if it were gone, I'd probably be like, fine with me, you know,
or force them to make it healthy. I mean,
too.
what's stopping us from just holding essentially European standards of food ingredients or dyes? Dude, I can't drink a red drink much anymore like that without getting a headache. I don't know. That one might not have dye, but just in general, red dye gives me a headache.
Really?
Really?
I wish it gave me a headache. I need to stop with that. Red Starburst, man.
We've been kind of going today. If there's anything,
I know this is our longest stream yet.
I'm just chill. We're just chilling today.
Yeah, I do got to get going here soon, though.
Anything else? I know we had a little talk about taking over the Democrat Party. I'm gonna play with that one a little bit. Do a little.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought experiment.
Make a little
interesting hypothetical.
You got anything, Bob? Bob, keep it in the bathroom. Keep it in the bedroom. Do what you want to do. Just keep it out of the streets.
Who are you to tell someone else what they should and shouldn't do?
It's also tiresome, man. I remember back in the day when reporters weren't activists.
I don't
remember that either, dude. What was that, like 1915?
Literally like...
Well, 1906, before we started the Federal Reserve and Balfour Declaration, but that was a different story.
Anderson Cooper made his career whining about Hurricane Katrina. I was like 6 years old. I don't remember
I think they've always been activists, man. I mean, what is Operation Mockingbird? It's been going on since the 50s, 60s.
It's just the veneer of indifference. No one even cares. They don't even care to cover it up.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. I mean, it's not like Jeff Bezos on the Washington Post or anything. It's not like the New York Times had the or Facebook shut down the entire press of the New York Post for Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, he's absolutely right, but I think we're in a new age of reporterism. I had a clip a while back of I was going to try and find it, but I don't think I could find it, of Donald Trump kind of shutting down reporters. I mean, they're opening up the media press passes to independent journalists, whether that's Tim Pool or Jeremy at the Quartering or, I don't know, the Daily Wire. You know, as long as it's not in legacy media, I'm halfway okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
You on board with that one?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think they've always been activists. I just want them to be activists for us, if that makes sense. The same thing in the government. They've always been corrupt. I would just rather them advance the Christian nationalist position and be corrupt than not and still be corrupt.
It's like I was saying with Gavin Newsom earlier. These guys are just most people are grifters. Most people will go along to get along. So why not reshape what that means instead of being like a hyper homo, being a Christian nationalist? Yeah, people under a Christian nationalist aristocracy dictatorship will fake it, but like, why not? Why wouldn't we rather have that? Where some will fake it, some will be genuine. Why not?
It is what it is. Thank you for stopping by. Enjoy this John Ward video, and then we'll hit an outro, boys.
Elon Musk has brought attention to discrepancies in the Social Security Administration's database. Discrepancies that include more than 10 million people over the age of 120 and more than 1 million over 150, with the oldest Social Security recipient coming in at 360 years old, or roughly the age of the Mayflower. Likewise, the total number of recipients is just under 400 million, or about 60 million more American Social Security recipients than there are Americans. Who are these vampires? Or where did the money actually go? Leave your theories in the comments, unless you're one of these Nosferatus, in which case just don't bite me.